Hey everybody, it's me. It's Lenora from It's a New Dawn. I hope everybody is doing well. We are thawing out outside. It is February 23rd, 2021. And we had snow yesterday, but it's supposed to warm up, so everything is melting outside. But I actually like the winter. I'm kind of weird, but anyway, I am an RN holistic health coach, and I have been doing these podcasts my third season, so I'm pretty happy about that. And if you can subscribe and comment and share and my podcast, my YouTube, I would be very grateful for that. All my links are in the show notes, but without further ado, I will talk more at the end of the podcast. I am sitting here with Billy Dees. He does a podcast. He has his own podcast, Billy Dees Podcast. And I was actually on his podcast a couple times. And I met him through TikTok. And I really enjoy Billy a lot.
Oh, thank you.
And I do. And I had asked him if he wanted to be on my podcast and asked him what he wanted to talk about. And he said, skepticism. And
yes.
I was like, and I have to be honest, I was like, okay. But I was like, I trust him because you're going to see he's just got this wonderful speaking voice for the radio, for podcasts.
Oh.
He's wonderful.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. And I'm going to let him tell everybody a little bit about himself. And we're going to talk about skepticism. So take it away, Billy.
Sure. Well, first of all, I don't do many podcasts as a guest. Matter of fact, I'm trying to remember when the last one was. It's been a while. So I very much appreciate you having me on. It's nice to be able to just talk and I don't have to worry about, blinking lights and all that stuff. That's all on your end this time. So that's great.
Yeah. I'm honored, though. I'm really honored to have you here.
Oh, well, thank you. And likewise, I've spoken about you before. There's no question you are a genuine person. And that's one of the things I'm going to touch on here today. That's what makes you endearing to your audience. I have no doubt that is what makes you endearing as a friend. And skepticism. I'll just give the people a little background. I've done radio work, professional audio, podcasting for a long time, and it's kind of evolved. I originally started doing commentaries online as part of the podcast. And as that kind of went along, people started asking to be on. And that kind of stepped up to, I had publishers and other people approaching me about talking to their authors, musicians a lot of times, and so on. So it kind of evolved into a interview / commentary podcast. And as far as categories go, I've toyed around with the idea of having one podcast for this and one podcast for that, but it always ends up having the audience to chase me around. So it just seems to me like, regardless if I'm talking to an author or if I'm talking to someone about their personal experience or trauma, or whether I'm just doing a commentary, if people are essentially listening to the program for whatever's on, there's no point in sending them to 3 different shows and having them find it. That's kind of silly. So I've always just presented it as the Billy Dees Podcast, and we're very much current events, very much personal story oriented. We dabble in politics from time to time when there's an overwhelming story that's going on. But for the most part, that's kind of where the niche is. It's kind of a mixed bag of things, and I kind of like that. The audience doesn't get the same thing. You're not listening to a crime story every week. You're not listening to an author's story every week. It's something different every week. So it's worked out.
And I like that because I'm actually going to, my podcast started out just being health and wellness a year and a half ago. And then I took a hiatus. And then when I got on TikTok, then it was all about your stories and overcoming adversities and all of that. But I'm a holistic health coach, and I'm very much into learning about what other people do as far as integrative and holistic and complementary health and wellness. So I'm trying to, and so you kind of answered my question. I guess I don't ever have to really explain myself, because I know I'm going to be going this way and that way,
Yeah,
because
sure.
everything interests me.
Yeah,
This interests me. Skepticism. Like I said, I was like, huh. And then I'm looking and I'm like, wow, I'm very skeptical about health and wellness when people
sure,
present what they're presenting to me.
sure.
Always skeptical. So it's very interesting to me. So,
Yeah.
I'm not pinpointed to one thing either, I don't
That's
think.
awesome. That's absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
In regard to skepticism, that is something that I've spoken about numerous times on my podcast, and I've written about it in the past. It gets a bad rap because in the common speak of our times, when you tell someone you're a skeptic, a lot of times that means that's somebody who's going to deny your experience, somebody who's going to try to say that's not true on down the line. And I always tie in what I refer to as toxic positivity. We are addicted to trying to be positive all the time. And the reason that ties in for me is being positive in the way of motivation and everything else has become an industry. Positivity is bottled and sold very much in the same way that faith is. And one of the reasons why that makes me nervous is it often preys on the people who are most vulnerable, whether it be there's someone they've had a death in the family, maybe their business has crashed, or they've had a bad divorce, and they're at a low point in their life. And it's very easy when you are in that state to be manipulated. So, getting back to being a skeptic, it really does not mean that I am going to deny your reality. That's really
I would like to talk more about what you just said
okay.
about the positivity and praying and all of that. I'd like to hear more on what you mean about that. I mean, I when you first said it, like what did you say? It's an overload of positivity. What did you say at the
Yes,
beginning?
toxic positivity.
And no, I mean,
Yeah,
you know what? I just got the chills because I'll just tell you a little bit. I'm
sure,
one of these people who are very positive, right? But I
absolutely.
wasn't always like that. And it could be quite annoying for some.
Mhm.
And I get that. And it isn't real. It really isn't real. You have to be real.
Yeah,
And I am positive, but you got to give yourself, like my husband has been with me since I'm 9, like we've been together forever. And
right.
I've gone from the most negative person to the most positive person, almost where you said that,
Mhm.
that you almost want to throw up. So when I'm let myself feel though, and what I say is I give myself 20 minutes of cursing and being the total opposite positive person you'll ever meet, where my husband will look at me like, oh my God.
Yeah,
Like, if anybody saw you now, I said, I don't care. And I'll tell my clients, give yourself 20 minutes of feeling not grateful and being
exactly.
pissed
Sure,
off. It's important. You got to be
absolutely.
human. So I
Yes.
like that you said that, because there is like a throw up of so much.
It can be, and like I said, the positivity industry, and I'll throw in motivational speakers and all these other things, and I have to be I so often get these straw man arguments. Oh, so you don't like positivity. Oh, you like negativity. Oh, positivity is a bad thing. No, that's not the case at all. There's everybody needs a positive, let's say, attitude. Okay. When you start a new job, you have to you come in there with the attitude that, I want to make this a good thing. Okay. You can't go in there with the attitude, this is going to be a bummer. Okay. I just want to be very clear here that the line between having a positive attitude and it turning into something else that's bottled and sold can be a very short step. And one of the red flags is when someone is complimenting you all the time. And this can be a preacher, this can be a motivational speaker, this can be a politician. Politicians do this. It goes something like this. Lenora, you know, Lenora, you are very, very special. There's only one of you, Lenora. There's no copies of you. Okay, you are very special. You are a masterpiece. You have been created as a singular masterpiece. There's nothing that you can't do. It's just a matter of putting your mind to it. And all you need, Lenora, is the ability to unlock those those powers that you have within you. And for $39.95, I can tell you how to do that.
Puts a lot of pressure on me, first of all. Puts a lot of pressure on me.
But that's how you are led into either buying into something. A politician will do the same thing. A politician will bring out his family, and bring out his wife. Look who I screwed, and have 3 kids here. I'm a family man, okay? And they always, anytime you hear the word values, they change their tone of voice. We have the same values. When you hear that, run, okay? We have the same values. We have family values. We all want a better future for our children. And this is why this bill that I'm working on is in line with our values. And see how that just goes right in there?
Yeah, the tone.
Yeah, right, and so you get sold a bill of goods, whether it's positivity in a bottle, whether it's faith in a bottle. You get sold, things that may not be in your best interest politically and otherwise. And you have to be very careful of positivity being used as a tool of manipulation. And this is where the skepticism comes in. Here again, I don't deny someone's personal beliefs, but there's a difference between a personal belief, whether it be religious or otherwise, spiritual or otherwise. There's a difference between a personal belief and an objective one, an objective truth, a personal truth and an objective truth. And I know that somebody somewhere always says, well, our perception is our reality. And they've been through philosophy 101. And that makes for a good conversation at the coffee shop. But the fact of the matter is, in a practical sense, there is a difference between a what we might call an objective truth and a personal truth. Objective truths do exist. Okay. And 2 + 2 at some point has to equal 4. This smartphone right here, it would not exist. It took teams of engineers over the course of years, starting with the microprocessor and everything else, to develop this technology. Airplanes, same way. We have to be able to share and trust what we call objective truths. They do exist. Okay. There are personal truths. Personal truths, here again, are the sky's the limit in terms of what you want to believe. And when somebody comes to me and says, hey, Bill, you're never going to believe this, but, there was a flying saucer in our neighborhood last night. And I will take in that story and I will enjoy that story. And I won't for a moment tell that person that they're full of it. But before I come on your podcast and say, hey, Lenora, you're not going to believe this, but a friend of mine saw a flying saucer last night, there has to be some information that he can share with me that I can validate that. And that's what I mean by being a skeptic. It simply means that there has to be some evidence for what you're putting forth. And when I get criticized for being a skeptic, I get this a lot. Well, what do you believe? Like there has to be some mandate that you believe in something. So, okay.
Well, Billy, what do you believe?
I'll get to that. But my answer to that is we could go down a long list here, starting with astrological signs, starting with paranormal, starting with meaning and coincidences, starting with ghosts. We could go on down the line here, all the different religions. And it seems like, for example, astrology. Most people, I believe the way the surveys are done, believe that there is some merit to them. Most people believe in some sort of spirituality. Most people, I could go on. The numbers are in the double digits across the board. So my answer to that is, what don't you believe? You'll believe anything that's put forth. And one of the things that triggers that is you have to ask yourself, and this is a very difficult question. One of the things that you really have to hold yourself in check on is, do I want this to be true? We believe what we like. Okay.
That's
And
very true.
I always say that, there's 7 some odd billion people in this world. And when you break it down, there's 7 some odd billion little religions in this world. We all have our own little tailored belief system about what life is all about. And even if we subscribe to a religion, whether we admit it or not, we tailor that. Like if you're a Christian, you tailor certain things that Jesus said and all that to your own belief systems. The things that don't align, you kind of forget about. And that's fine in a personal belief system, as long as you recognize that it is part of your personal belief. Being able to separate that, how many times have you watched the news and there's been a parent in the courtrooms, my son is innocent. Okay, of course they want to believe that. It doesn't matter how overwhelming the evidence is. When was the last time you saw a parent on the news that said, hey, I don't know what's going on with that jury, they must be crazy, my son's guilty as hell? Okay, and it never it almost never happens.
Well,
yeah, it may, I'm sure it's happened in the history of the world, but it doesn't happen often. Okay. Right. We believe what we want to be true. And that's a very powerful thing when it comes to, let's say, religion and spirituality.
Because you're very much into the religion, spirituality, political. I keep going back in my head to the health and wellness industry.
Yeah.
Because that's very true. Like people, I can get anybody to do anything, but is that right? It's not right. Yeah. So I am very skeptical of, and I'm very aware of that too.
Yeah.
So I'm happy about that. I don't conform to anything. I'm vegetarian, vegan for 16 years, and I did everything and ate very healthy. I can't say I didn't feel good, but I just started eating meat a month ago.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about that either on a podcast or my own. But I want to make sure that I give it a fair shot, and I want to make sure that I'm not going by what everybody else is saying. I have skepticism.
That's great.
So I'm not on any kind of carnivore straight diet. I'm not on paleo. I'm not on keto. It's Lenora's diet. It's how I'm eating. So I don't conform to any diet. I'm very proud of myself for that but a lot of people do.
Yeah.
With health and wellness.
Where I was kind of leading with the spirituality is the 800-pound gorilla in the room is that we are aware of our own mortality. And I believe that we all want to believe that we're going to be with loved ones again and all of these other things. Nobody wants to believe that this is all there is to life. But there's some dangers there. There's some pitfalls there. First of all, wanting to believe something and having that belief, there's nothing wrong with it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I believe it can be a positive thing. I have a belief system that's a little bit more rooted in humanity, and I'll get to that in a moment. But what you have to be aware of is your desire to live forever. And some of that can be tied into the diet industry. I'm guessing about that. I've never researched it. But this idea that you're looking for the fountain of youth is something that is
for me, it's not that way.
Well,
it's
some are.
Living, I'm sure for a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of death at all. I don't know what's going to happen when I die.
Right.
But when I die, I don't know. So
exactly.
I'm not worried about it.
I'm kind of with you on that.
But the thing is like the thing with longevity is that I want to live. If I'm going to live a long time, I want to live a long time feeling good. I don't want to. That's my take on it.
Yeah, so. That's but on TikTok, for example, all the women who do the exercises and everything, I'm not saying all, but let's say a very high number of them. How old do I look? 30 never looked so good. 40 never looked so good. 50 never looked so good. Okay, it's this idea that I'm fit, I look as good as a 20-year-old, and it's very much tie
What are you saying?
into
What are you saying, Billy? What are you saying?
I'm saying that there is a
No, I'm
correlation.
saying I say 56 years young. I
56
do
years
that.
young, yes.
And well, I do that in a lot
Well,
of my
that's true.
videos. So are you
And
attacking me?
there is a correlation between youth and longevity in terms of a lot of these diets and exercise programs, and that's fine. I here again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's not where I am going with this. But you can't, especially when it comes to spirituality, and people that have these beliefs. One of the things that I really can't stand hearing is when I hear somebody say, I can't wait for this to be over, meaning life, because I know there's a better place. I can't believe in with the best intentions of religion that was ever meant to be said. I can't believe that life should ever be devalued in that sense.
Mm.
That this life that we're living is something we have to get through
That's so
to,
sorry. That's
yeah,
sad.
yes. Here again, I'm not exactly sure what the polling numbers are, but believers were recently polled sometime last year. I ran across this. People are more afraid, but no, this is believers. They are more afraid of the idea that there's nothing after life than the idea of hell. Now,
Mm.
just think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were, because even in hell, your existence continues.
Mm.
And you can't deny the motivational factor that has when we make our decisions governing our reality. I think that what you do, for example, is a perfect example of making this life the most valuable as possible by eating healthy and feeling good. Okay. And this is kind of where my belief system, as it were, comes from. I'm, as a humanitarian, the earth is roughly 4.5 billion years old, which means it's gone around the sun 4.5 billion times. If we are lucky, we get to go around 70, 80, or 90 times, and that's if we are lucky. Many of us don't even get that. Many of us way short of that.
Right.
So the trip
Two of
is,
my sister-in-laws died at 28 and 48.
yep, very,
Because, yeah.
very limited time here, even under the best of circumstances. You're here only a split second in terms of the history of our world.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, I think we need to be more conscious of the people around us. And we want to make sure that everybody has a trip, so to speak, around the sun that is as pleasant and as love-filled as possible. Okay.
I
And
agree.
that means taking care of yourself. And that means respecting the feelings and concerns and needs of our fellow people. And I don't want to come across as anti-religion, because that's not the case. But I think we should spend less time worrying about what happens afterwards. If you look at the amount of hate, the amount of violence, we divide ourselves over what we believe. We divide ourselves over what color we are. We divide ourselves over what part of the world we're from. We divide ourselves over what economic status we have. It goes on and on and on. And all we're doing is we're taking this short little ride that we're going to have on the earth, and we're making it miserable. We're making it
Mm-hmm.
miserable for ourselves, and we're making it miserable for the people around us. And the fact of the matter is, this may be all we get. There may be
Mm-hmm.
nothing after this. This may be all we get.
I
And
live like that. I don't
yeah,
know what's going to happen. And I'm very spiritual, but I refuse to like worry about that because
yeah,
I'm living my life now. And I know that's why I believe that we should all go through adversities
yeah,
because it's why I'm so grateful for this right now, what I'm doing right now,
yeah,
sitting here with you, being a listener.
yeah,
I I appreciate that. And if
yeah.
people haven't gone through, and I'm talking probably hard adversities to really
Sure.
get it,
Yeah,
and you know what I've been through,
sure.
and people have been through way worse, but I'm just saying, I, that's why I come across as that fluffy, grateful person sometimes because
Yes.
I'm truly grateful, but I'm also real and I'm also mean sometimes. And I
Yes.
also scream and I also curse. So I know about the fluffy, always be grateful and always, no, you know what? We're human too.
Yeah.
Gotta live it.
Gratitude and empathy are something that we need a lot more of. And I'm not sure how you teach empathy. I'm not sure it can be taught. A lot
Hmm.
of people don't have empathy until they've gone through some sort of thing like you just said. Then all of a sudden the bells go off. Oh, I understand why this means something to this person now because I've gone through it. We can't seem to take that step very often. I always try to have empathy for anyone who's talking to me about something they've been through, even though I may not have been through it, because that is something that has impacted that person's life. And just because I haven't felt those things, don't mean I can't appreciate what those feelings feel like in another situation that I have been through. And for some reason, people just can't do that. Empathy is something that we're very much lacking in our society. Um,
I agree. I
yeah,
agree.
and here again, that all gets back to treating your fellow person properly. And here again, I want to stress: there's nothing wrong with being positive. Okay, there's nothing wrong in your case for you have this upbeat personality. You're in a constant state of gratitude, which I believe is a good thing. Gratitude is different. I think that's a wonderful thing. My concern comes when positivity and faith, for that matter, become so strong and so omnipresent in your life that you can't get through the day without being uplifted in some way. And a lot of times that means creating a false reality.
Hmm.
There was a young lady on TikTok that kind of struck me. That's kind of where I got the term toxic positivity. She has a disability, and a lot of times, some days are very hard for her. And she says one of the worst things that you can say to her is, "Oh, honey, there's the people have it a lot worse." And you can't let yourself get into this mindset. You're going to set yourself up for a bad day.
I
And
can't believe people still say that.
yes, and it's almost like having a bad day or facing the reality of something is taboo.
Yeah. That's what I
It's
mean about you got to let yourself feel too.
yeah,
We're human,
yeah,
if it becomes a health issue, if you're in that mode for a long enough time, then, you need to address it. But we
yep,
need to feel. You definitely need to feel.
yeah,
You can't always be, somebody has it worse and, tomorrow will be a brighter day. That's the
yeah,
last thing, it's just like somebody who loses a baby. All you can say is, I'll be there for you if you need me.
yep,
I'm sorry for what you went through. And when somebody dies, same thing. Or there's always God, it's God's will.
yeah,
Or, I mean, I couldn't get pregnant. I went through infertility specialist for a year, went through major surgery. I didn't want to hear maybe one day, you can always adopt,
yeah,
certain times you just got to feel
yes,
and give permission to do it.
absolutely. Yeah, when I hit myself on the finger with a hammer, I don't say, "Oh, it's still gonna be a good day." I I let out a few cuss words, and
When you rolled over your foot or something.
yeah,
I'm
yeah, I did.
sorry.
I did
I
one.
don't know
I
what it was
did.
at. That was really funny.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah. What she's referring to, just let the audience know,
the TikTok.
I was actually arranging a camera, so the camera was on, and I was in my stocking feet, and I have one of those office chairs with the steel, rollers, and I was pulling back, and I ran over my foot, and I happened to record it, so I put it online, and Lenora has gotten a lot of enjoyment out of hearing me scream.
The pain. I got a lot of enjoyment from the pain.
From the pain, yes,
The pain you had to have from that.
yes,
That's so
yes.
funny. I'm sorry. I keep interrupting you. Go
No,
ahead.
you're fine.
Keep
You're
going.
fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, being a skeptic, I'll just capsulize this by saying that you don't have to deny someone's beliefs. I'm not here to tell anyone that the experiences that you've had as an individual aren't true to you. I have had experiences, I would say spiritual ones at times, that I can't explain. And it certainly gives me hope that there's something more to this life than the physical. I mean, my grandparents probably loved me more than any two people that ever existed. I mean, my grandparents just loved me to death. And nothing would make me happier than the thought of being with them again. I mean, that is, something that would be very special. But I don't let my personal experiences with spirituality, some of the odd things that I've had happen in my life that I can't explain, or my desire to be in an afterlife with my loved ones, influence the fact that I know that these are, in fact, personal realities. They're not objective ones. I can't recreate them. I can't design an experiment. If I could design, or if you could design an experiment that was repeatable, had repeatable results, had verifiable results, in a third party, and had all these things in a way that we could put them in a control that would clearly demonstrate that there are spiritual forces having an influence on the physical world. If we could do that, Lenora, our names would dwarf every scientist you've ever heard of. Okay. And
Mhm.
it just hasn't happened yet. That's not to say that and that's another thing people try to trip me up on. There is evidence for some pretty significant things that show that there might be something more to this life. There is some evidence for that. But having evidence for something is not the same as being able to prove it. There's a lot of things that, in some quaint manner, there's evidence for. There's a lot of things that are logical that aren't true. So you just have to be able to separate what you believe from what you can prove conclusively in an objective manner. And being able to separate those two, in my opinion, makes you appreciate reality that much more, makes you realize the things that are important. A lot of my friends, and I'm not picking on people who are religious, but a lot of my staunch religious friends don't have a lot of concern for the environment. They don't have a lot of concern for the world, because their thing is this was created for us to do what we want. We can do whatever we want. It's going to be here forever, and it's not. Okay.
Mhm.
What's happening in your case, you're so passionate about our health, that the earth, for the most part, the population of the world, in regard to human beings, the process of what we call decay and renewal has been very powerful, but we are now starting to outpace that in terms of all the plastic we are putting into the ocean, in terms of all the toxins
Mhm.
we are putting into the earth. We are dumping more into the toilet than what the toilet can flush. Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
And we have to be aware of that, not only for our own existence, but for future generations. We can't rely on some spiritual afterlife to be there for us and treat the earth the way we do. If that
Yeah.
gives you purpose in your personal life, I'm all for that. I hope there's something after this life as well. But in the meantime, there's no question that our life support system on this earth has been the life support system of every person and every living thing that has ever existed that we know of. That includes Napoleon. It includes Jesus Christ. It
Mhm.
includes Cleopatra. It includes Tyrannosaurus Rex. They all breathe the same air. They all drank the same water. There's been no UPS shipments from outer space bringing us water. There's been no UPS shipments from space bringing us air. The earth has been decaying and renewing in a fashion that it supports life. And we are now beginning to outpace that, not only by the way we treat the earth, but by the way we treat our own bodies. And that's why I think what you talk about is so important.
It's one part of it.
Yes.
It's one part. It's important, but it's just the one part. We all have to do our part, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you, Billy. Do you have anything else you want to share? Do you have any last words of wisdom for our
Last words of
audience out there?
wisdom. The last words of wisdom is be positive to the extent that you have a good attitude, that you are grateful for all the things that you have in this life. Have empathy for the people around you and love the people around you. And if your personal belief is rooted in something after this life, that's great. My concern is that you're living a happy life now, and you're enriching the lives of the people around you. That's what matters to me. I don't care what your motivation is, if it's in this world or if it's not. Just care about the people around you. That's what we need more of in this world.
Amen. Love is everything. I love that, Billy. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Where can people get in touch with you? I will have all the information in the show notes.
Sure.
But you want to?
I use the same screen name for pretty much anything. Billy D's is, I'm going to say Twitter is my social media home. You can find me at Billy D's on Twitter, real easy to find on Twitter. I'm also Billy D's on TikTok. That's where I've met Lenora and her wonderful content. Billy D's podcast is on just about every major carrier. My history with Apple Podcast and Spotify is very long. I'm not a Johnny come lately to podcasting. I've been around a long time. You can find me on there. Recently, within the last year or so, I did start a Facebook and a YouTube channel. Here again, also Billy D's podcast, real easy to find. I don't mix things up. It's the same screen name everywhere you go.
Which is smart. Have you gone on Clubhouse yet?
Yes, and as a matter of fact, they keep sending me this invite, and I enter the invite. And
get on it.
I do, and then it sends me the invite again. So I'm not sure. I'm new to this. Do I have to be invited on by an existing member?
I'll invite you.
Billy D's.
Because I know you'll use it. But the thing is that I'm also friends with somebody, Carl Lenora. I was on his show, Superhumans Among Us, about 2 years ago.
Okay.
Talking about my story. He's huge. I think he's one of the longest running radio shows, Superhuman Radio.
Wow. Awesome.
Carl Lenora. Anyway, he asked me to invite him. I invited him, and he's doing his podcast off of there. I don't know how you do it, but Billy,
I'll have to check it out.
You have to check it out. I will send you an invite. But anyway, hang out for a second. Everybody, please support me. Go to It's a New Dawn. All my links are below as usual. My Google number, my email. If you'd like to be on the show, just drop me an email, or you can text me, get in touch with me. I'm also, like I said, I'm branching out into alternative, holistic, complementary health, integrative health. Get in touch with me. I'd love to hear what you want to share on the podcast. And the Rawr bar. I didn't talk about that, but I am an affiliate and ambassador. It's the only packaged good I eat. My code is Lenny5, capital Lenny, the number 5 for 5% off. You have to check out these two people, husband and wife, young, in Minnesota. They're good people. They give 10% of their net proceeds to feed the hungry children worldwide. Their bar is all organic. Vegan, but it fits any diet. 18 to 22 grams of protein. It's good stuff. Check them out. And on that note, everybody have a wonderful and blessed day. Thank you for joining me, Billy.
Awesome.